Wow. Well, I guess people were having fun yesterday because there's not a lot of folks right here now. But let's not let that get on the way. So anyway, I was asked to talk here at Pocket Gamer Connects, which is always a fun conference and a lot of good stuff to listen to and see and meet people. And the track was Mobile Games University. So what I'm going to be talking about today is how to build a successful games company. And this is like a shortened version of a talk that I've been talking at universities about around this topic, more related to HR, et cetera, and building the culture and the organization and stuff like that. But I thought that this might be an interesting opening talk for the Mobile Games University. There's going to be lots of other good talks today as well, but let's get started. So my name is Jami Laes. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Futureplay Games, and this month I've actually been 17 years in mobile games, so I'm 25 this year as well, which makes me a very early starter in the industry in many different ways. But without further ado, let's dive a bit deeper. Just a quick background on what maybe gives me any credentials to talk about how to build a successful games company. The current company that we have, Futureplay Games, in short, we were founded in 2015. We're currently 21 people, started with 5 co-founders, a bit over 5 million in revenue, 4 games, 2 of them in soft launch, 2 of them in global for a number of years already. A bit over 13 million downloads and a bit over 400 million ad impressions. And we invented the view to play model, coined the term, and maybe we're the ones first to kind of really focus on that. And it's worked really well for us. So I'm using a lot of our story as a background for the kind of wider topic. And we also have a saying that could be better. So we're working on improving those numbers till to be bigger. Anyway, because this is Superstar track, I started thinking and took that as one cue that superstars, like, do you need superstars and ninjas and, you know, like hunters and killers and whatnot and alpha people and super devs in your team to really build a successful games company? No. At least what I've seen is that usually leads to a lot of issues, basically, because people take too much kind of their own ways of working, sometimes with the working hours, so they don't work well with the rest of the team. What I found is that just a group of normal but talented individuals who actually want to join the company and want to do the things that you want to do as a company is way better than trying to find the best individual in a very specific field, like you know, gameplay programming or server programming or free-to-play design, and try to mash those people together if they're superstars in the field. That it needs to be like a better fit for the team than, you know, the best out of the best in a very narrow field. And there are a few other things, obviously, that if you get them right at the start, then everything else will be easier, and you're actually kind of poised for success in many different ways. And this is a thing that I've usually talked about a lot, that, you know, if you're starting a company, and whether it's mobile games or something else, but this is important in that sense that when we were starting Futureplay, we started thinking that if we start from zero and, you know, we have no funding, we didn't have a team yet, et cetera, we were still founding and finding the right members and all that, what should we do? And looking at the world, this is the thing that we looked at, is that change is invisible, but difference is not. So try to look for things that are actually changing at the moment that haven't yet changed and others haven't realized that that process is ongoing, because our brain is wired in a way where we don't actually perceive change. It's invisible to us. We cannot see change. I can't see my son growing, but I can see when he's 10 centimeters taller. And it's obvious for the aunt who sees him once a year, who lives in another country, that when that difference is large enough, that, okay, there's a quant now, he's a bit taller. And why is this relevant for companies? Well, I use an example from mobile games. You know, 10 years ago, people were saying you can't make money in mobile games. 5 years ago, people were saying you can't make money with free games. 2 years ago, people were saying you can't make money with ads in mobile games. Every single time, the people are wrong, because the world keeps on changing. So look at those things that are changing but haven't yet fully transformed into something new. then you can find something that is going to be an interesting thing for you, the market, for investors, and everybody. But it's hard. It's a hard thing to do, so you've got to have those sensitive antennas and try to figure out what that could be. And when you're starting up your company, I mean, choose wisely. We had this conversation actually last year in the fireside chat with Oscar Clark, that what should somebody then start building, what kind of games, et cetera, and stuff like that, or is it mobile games or another platform, VR, AR? Well, there's really only three things, and the first thing that matters the most is timing. If you're the last one to a dying market, don't do it. It doesn't make sense. If you're the first one to a booming market, that's a good place to be. So timing is everything, but there are other things as well. I mean, sometimes it might be a really good idea and you might be really successful if you're really goddamn passionate about something and you just want to do it for the rest of your life and you want to make that work. That goes a long way. Passion goes a long way as well when you're starting up. Also, one of the things that we talked then as well is that what does the market need? What do the players want? What is lacking from the market? What is neglected, or what isn't done well or right, or with the right model or business model or distribution or theme or style or whatnot? So, of course, ultimately, if you can find all those things right, if you find your ikigai and the Japanese term when everything is in perfect unison, your passion, your calling, and what you're good at, then you make money, etc., and all of that, this is kind of the same thing. The time is right, you want to do it, it's the best thing for you in the world, and the market seems to want it, etc. That's obviously the best position to start a company. And start it right, too. I think that the right founding team is crucial in many ways, unless you want to have a lot of hard discussions and a lot of hard, letting people go, etc. And it is like a family, and this time you can choose it. You can choose your real family or biological family, but you can choose your founding team. So be very specific and very deliberate, and have lots of discussions about. Because basically you need to be like a lawyer without using lawyer papers. What happens if we actually go bankrupt? What happens if you get sick? What happens if you have a kid? What happens if your wife needs to move to another country? What happens if this doesn't succeed? What happens if we can't pay salary for a year? What happens if we're very successful? Go through all different scenarios and talk with the people. What do they want? What are they signing up for? Make sure that it's really understood that what is it that they're signing up for how long, with what kind of input, effort, and kind of commitment, and what are their expectations when things go well, okay, or really badly, etc. That's super, super crucial. And I've been in a situation, for example, where I thought we had a founding team, but then we didn't, and we needed to reshuffle the founding team, and I don't recommend it at the very last minute when you're trying to close a funding round, for example. That can get a bit tricky. And once you have your founding team and you know what you want to do, and you have the timing and the passion and the market need right, and you have a group of talented people, etc., when you keep hiring the best. What I mean by that is don't look for the superstars, but look for the best people for your organization and your team and your needs. Don't look for the people that fit the current description, what you're lacking in terms of tasks to be done. So don't hire just for the sake that you, for example, have the money or something just needs to be done. We've been kind of slow in recruitment. We haven't even advertised a lot of the positions because we first want to feel the pain of what actually needs to be done and what do we need to do that right before we actually just hire somebody to typecast to a role that we've had in previous companies, in larger organizations, etc. And at the same time, when you do know what you need and what you want and what kind of person, what kind of skills and experience and what they're setting out to do in the company, don't lower the bar ever. It should be harder going forward getting into the company than easier. Of course, then there's a limit when you will have, very, very kind of entry-level roles later on when you get really big, etc. But we're now at 20, 21 people. One of them is half-time, etc. It's still, the same small family or a very tightly knit sports team that really needs to work really well together. So don't lower the bar. If you can, raise the bar. So hiring for a startup is the inverse of a university in that sense. At least here in Finland, it might work differently in other countries. The hardest thing is to get into the university. But after that, you don't really have to do much. You just get out after a few years. But the hardest thing is to get into the university. It doesn't cost you anything, but the exams to get in, those are the kind of the barrier of entry. But in a company, it shouldn't be in that sense that just the founding team is the hard to get into, and after that it's super easy for the rest to get in. It should be just as hard for all the other people that follow. And what we found worked really well is that everyone needs to be hands-on. When you're a small team, everybody needs to be able to pick up a lot of things. So we have no managers, we don't hire them, we hire doers. And it's a team effort. Yes, some people have specialties, etc., but we basically involve everyone in everything as long as we can if they want to be, whether it's hiring or interviewing or office design or whatever. And a couple of other things as well that, what we decided to do differently is that we didn't want to take what we've seen in previous companies, larger organizations, structure, processes, etc., and copy that to our organization. When we started from scratch, we thought that, okay, we're not going to have any rules. We're not going to have any process or anything like that. Let's see what we need as we go along and only take the things and instantiate the things that we do need. So a lot fewer, bolder, and better. So we only have one rule, no bullshit. And that might sound like, yeah, he's swearing a little bit, but it's just a more punk version of the golden rule. So always doing the right thing and, never giving any bullshit for our employees, our partners, our customers, our players, our colleagues, our spouses, etc. It's a simple rule, but it works because it will, mean trust, accountability, transparency, all kinds of things that people need to live up to and act and behave accordingly to that rule. So one other thing as well when you're starting up definitely is that we kind of want to think that even all the people after the founding team need to be like entrepreneurs. So I invented this word because I'm big on inventing words, entrepreneur employees. So hire those kinds of people who could start their own company or have started their own company before, who know what it means when you don't have 100 people doing the job of 50 people like most organizations have. When you have only 20 people doing the work of 100 people and everybody needs to do 5 things at once sometimes, etc. Hire those kinds of people. And also make sure that they own part of the company through options or stock or whatever works in your country. And we haven't set out official values and vision and mission that strictly or anything like that because we think that, culture isn't something that you write down on the wall, that you need to nail it down there. It's just something that you do, because culture doesn't define actions, actions define culture. People usually think the other way, yeah, we have this culture, so we do things like this. No, what you do actually builds the culture for you. So we have some values and behaviors that we want to look up to, but these are not nailed down on the wall as well. I'm not going to go into details about all of them, but I'm also big on acronyms, so this is total Zen, because sometimes building a company, building it up, etc., it can be a bit hectic, and some people talk about stress and everything and all that, and being a startup CEO is like being a baby that you wake up several times in the night crying for your mom, etc. I don't think it needs to be like that. It's all about how you actually perceive it then, what kind of team you build, what kind of people you surround you with, and what you start doing. It doesn't need to be like that in any way. So trust, I don't think people will do almost anything unless you trust them and they trust you. So I think that is the foundation for everything. Ownership. Yes, give them a piece of the company. Yes, give them the piece of the game and the work that they're doing, and never take that back. Don't go and veto things, and don't go there as a manager or as a founder or as a CEO or anything and take their work back, because as soon as you do that, they stop working. They're just, appearing to the workplace, but they don't own it anymore. Because pretty much everything comes from the ownership, the pride and all that for your own work and the end results and motivation for that. We have full transparency on all the company's numbers and what our board is thinking, what our investors are thinking, and how are we doing and all of that. And everybody has full access to that. Because I don't think you can really have trust that where is this company going, how are we doing, and why are we doing these things? Unless you have transparency, you don't have trust. And accountability. Whoever is accountable for that, make sure that they get the good and the bad, and make sure that people know who is accountable for what, and they get the credit, etc. And also make sure that you have a culture where if something doesn't go the right way, people are happy to raise their hand. Yeah, sorry, I fucked up. I should have done that. My bad. Won't happen again. That's a good learning experience, and the organization and the team and the individual will be better after that. And this is maybe a longer discussion, but we actually don't have any budgets or policies even in user acquisition or anything like that. So everybody's basically free to do whatever they want as long as it makes sense for the company. I mean, it's like act like an adult, act like an owner, act like what makes sense. If you think it's a smart thing to do to organize an event or open up a new UA channel or put 1 million into Facebook ads, if you think it's good for the company, if it makes sense, and you're accountable for that, it's your idea, you want to do it, just go and do it. You don't need approval for that, as long as it makes sense. So this might not work for everyone, but I think it's just a lot more fun. You hire adult people who are senior, who understand what they're doing, who want to be there, want to be part of that. They own a part of that. They take pride of their work. They trust their colleagues. They take ownership for what they do. Why should you set them goals and give them restrictions and budgets and stuff like that? Let them tell you what they want to do. And if they want to restrict themselves, that's fine. But I think it's better the other way around. And Zen. Be Zen about everything, because everything will work out the way they should anyway, no matter what you do. That's how the universe works. And you'll be more happy that way if you're Zen about it. So that's total Zen. But also, in a startup especially, in terms of execution, if it's not done, it doesn't exist yet, and it might never will, because sometimes, you know, the last bit, the last 5%, etc., that might kill the product or kill the update or kill the build or something like that. So if it's not done, it doesn't exist. And if no bullshit. If everybody actually lives up to that and lives and breathes and acts like that, everything else will kind of take care of itself, because then you can transparently, openly discuss and do whatever needs to be done, and that's it. Also, one thing that I've added here that's not part of the acronym is that I just feel, for example, personally so tremendously lucky being able to do something like this. You know, 100 years ago, people were plowing, you know, fields here in Finland, etc. And now we're doing mobile games and talking on stage how to do successful mobile games. And I think that's pretty damn cool. And I'm just thankful for the opportunities that we can actually build companies and do stuff like that. And don't think that you couldn't do it either. There's nothing special about Futureplay or me or my team or anything. Just figure out what's the right thing for you and the right team for you, and where do you want to go, and find the people. And once you have the people and the product, the money will come as well. If there's a need for that, then you have the passion for that, then your timing is right. So be thankful once you get that opportunity as well, because it's pretty cool. So thank you. Do you want the mic? Yes. Yeah.
So do you guys want to ask any questions? We have time for questions.
We have time. I was 1 minute over or something like that.
Oh, you were perfect. So do you guys have any questions?
Are you guys hiring?
Yeah, we're hiring. We're looking for more people in the marketing end of the spectrum, but always looking for good people as well. But we hire people we want, not people we need. So.
What would you say is the kind of first skill sets you need in that founding team? Like, do you need an art director, or do you need a marketing director, this type of thing?
I think that, you know, whoever is kind of at the hub of the founding team, make sure that you have people who complement you the right way. That if you fall down on tech, or if you fall down on art, or if you fall down on design, or if you fall down on business, that the founding team actually supports you on those areas, so that together you won't fall down. It's like the structure of a table, that the foundation needs to be strong. And we had this kind of saying, what we told the investors as well, that we're 5 guys. If you give us credit cards, internet connection, 5 laptops and mobile phones, we don't need anybody else to launch games. We can do that. We've done it for a number of years. So you don't need to be necessarily that self-sufficient, but at least for us, it gave a lot of security that, hey, we can actually do this. If nobody else comes to work with us, for us, help us, etc., all we have to do is spend a little bit of time together, and we can dish out games to the market.